We did have to make a lot of sacrifices to get where we're today, but it was worth it because now we live on a boat, and deep down I kept saying, like, how we're going to sustain this term. At the start, when we first left, it was only meant to be a 2-year sabbatical, but partway through that we were like, we can't go back to normal life after this. How do you go back to normal life after being free and living on a yacht and sailing around partway around the world?
Hi, I'm Kim Tolson, and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. So I'm so excited today to have Erin Carey here with me. She's not a traveling therapist, but what she is doing is so interesting, and I just was so excited to have her on the podcast. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she does and her traveling journey, and then we're just going to get into some questions and just talk about her lifestyle. So Erin, I would love to turn it over to you and have you maybe explain a little bit about your lifestyle and what it is that you're doing right now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. So my name is Erin Carey, and I'm the founder and director of Roam Generation, which is a 100% remote PR agency. And I actually run my PR agency from a yacht as my family and I sail around the world.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So how long have you guys been sailing around the world?
Well, it all kind of started back in 2015 was when we were watching a Netflix documentary about Laura Decker, the youngest girl to have ever sailed around the world. We were a regular family living in the suburbs of Adelaide in Australia, and we had never dreamt of owning a boat. We were not sailors. We had never entered our minds, not even for a second. However, we watched this documentary, and something in the documentary really resonated with both my husband and I. And so exactly 2 years later from that night, we boarded a plane on one-way tickets out of Australia to the Caribbean, and we lived on the boat for about 2 years. Then coronavirus happened in Australia for 18 months, and now we've been back out for just over a year.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I actually wasn't a publicist. I wasn't a publicist before this. I worked for the Australian government, and I started my agency from scratch while living on the boat.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So that was a whole new career for you?
It was essentially. I mean, the skills that I gained working for the Australian government have really translated over to this role. I used to interview people. I used to have to, formulate reports and write documents. I went articles, but a lot of the things that I learned in that job have set me up to be a good publicist as well. I had to do a lot of research, and I was like a dog with a bone in my old job, and that's really helps me be a good publicist because I don't give up. I'm not happy until I get my clients in the publications that they really want to be in. And yeah, I had never dreamt of doing PR. I honestly didn't really even know what PR was before I figured out that what I was doing in a way was PR. And then once I discovered that I liked what I was doing, it's a whole story, and I can tell you exactly how it came about if you like. But essentially I fell into this role and then went, you know what, I really love this and I'm good at it. And that's where Roam Generation kind of came about.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Like, I didn't even know what PR was, because when we were going to do this interview, I started researching, and I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I need a PR person. Looking at your website, it's like, wow, the services you offer are amazing. And, us as therapists, we're always trying to market ourselves and get in publications. And, I know your niche is sort of like traveling, right? Brands that are more about traveling. But, it's such an amazing company to have working for you. I'm excited about it. I was telling Erin before I hit record that I want to talk with her later just to see everything that she offers, because her website's amazing. RoamGeneration.com, right? Is that the name of the website?
Yeah, that's one, generation.com. And yeah, like my niche is travel, leisure, and luxury, but covers everything. So while travel is definitely one of the things that we focus on, I also have like some financial clients, a crypto
Oh,
client. So yeah, a lot of things can fall under leisure. Basically, if we feel inspired by the people that we're working for, then that's what I'm aiming for, because I love to share stories about people that I really believe are doing amazing things. And I mean, you're managing to also be like a remote, run a remote company. So that definitely is something that would interest me for sure.
yes. Oh gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, okay, you decide, all right, we watch this documentary, we want to do this, we want to buy a yacht. Like how do you go about that process? How do you even learn how to like drive a yacht? I mean, how, how does that happen? I'm so curious.
Yeah, no, I would have been exactly like you. So I didn't even know if it was possible. I remember Googling, is it safe to take kids on a boat? I didn't know that you could cross an ocean in a personal vessel. I thought you had to be like a ship captain or in the Navy or something to sail across an ocean. So we literally just started from scratch, started at the beginning, and just started researching. And it didn't take long to figure out that there were actually thousands of families out living on boats and traveling the world. Think of it like, the RV of the water. So boat life, hashtag boat life, is actually a thing, and there are so many people out here doing it. Like there's this whole community. So the minute that we figured out that other people were doing it, we found YouTube channels of people doing it. It just kind of became our motto was, if they could do it, why can't we? And that just got
Wow.
us through, knowing that other people were making it work. We found a coach. I'm a huge believer in working with a coach. So we found a family who had sailed around the world. They had 3 kids. They started at the similar age of what our kids were going to be. And they had started up this business because that's how many people are actually trying to go from land life to living on a boat. There's enough that they're able to build this like really quite successful business. And they helped us along every step of the way.
Wow.
So without them, I'm sure we could have done it, but we would have probably made a lot more mistakes and probably wasted a lot of money. They were able to just give us guidance on everything from, whereabouts in the world do we start, what kind of boat do we buy, what do we take with us from Australia. There's so much to learn. It was a really fun project because my husband and I were equally invested in that. So we've got the kind of relationship that we work really well on common goals together. So sometimes, if we're in between having anything to really work on, then we're a bit like, flat. There's not a lot going on. So having that
Yeah.
common goal for those 2 years really fired us up and made us both super excited. And then, like I said, we found these YouTubers that we would watch, every night just to keep us inspired. And we'd watch them scuba diving and snorkeling and laying on sunny Caribbean beaches. And that made us,
I love that.
kept us going, because we did have to make a lot of sacrifices to get where we're today. But, it was worth it, because now we live on a boat, and I knew deep down, I kept saying, like, I don't know how we're going to sustain this long term. At the start, when we first left, it was only meant to be a 2-year sabbatical.
Oh,
But partway through that, we were like, we can't go back to normal life after this. Like, how do you go back to normal life after being free and living on a yacht and sailing around partway around the world? But I just knew that I would figure something out, and yeah, I did. I figured out Roam Generation, and now it's, I've grown it to be able to support us sailing indefinitely. So
wow.
it's exciting.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh my gosh. So, so how did you decide, like, what could you tell us about your boat? I'm just curious, like, what kind of, I guess it's a yacht. What kind did you decide on, and how did you go through that process?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got a monohull or a catamaran. So a catamaran is like what everybody wants, but they cost twice the price of a monohull. So at
Oh,
some stage, we had to go, you know what, we can't afford a catamaran, and we're just going to get a monohull. So it's a yacht. It's 47 foot long. It's got an aft cabin, so that's the cabin at the back, which is our room. It's got a queen size bed. We can walk around the cabin. We've got wardrobes, and my husband built me a desk, so I've got like a desk with dual screens, and like I'm completely comfortable, have all the equipment that I would have in a house. Yeah, I'm sitting here in a boat. So it's like awesome. I'm so happy that he built me this desk, because prior to this, I had to sit on the side of the bed and I had like the worst back pain. So
Yeah.
now it's all ergonomically designed and perfect for me. And then if you move to the door behind me, it is bathroom, the toilet and shower. Then you come out into the saloon area. So we've got like a big table, seating for probably 8 or 10 to sit around the table. And then kind of like, because we've got double doors into our bedroom on the other side, the other door goes out to the galley, which is the kitchen. And it's just like, a galley is like in a house, a long kind of thin, very narrow kitchen. But we have a stove and a double sink and a fridge and everything that you need. And then at the front of the boat, we've got a second toilet and the boys' bedroom, which is where they all sleep in the one room. So like double bunks on either side and a small floor space in the middle. So
Wow.
it's obviously small. It's probably bigger than a caravan and more comfortable potentially, because everything is built in and all like designed to fit together. So we have no need for furniture because we can't. But it's super comfortable. I love living on a boat and being all very close to one another. And there's nowhere to hide, but that doesn't bother me. Maybe that's my personality. My husband might say something different. He's an introvert and sometimes struggles without having his own space. But you know what he did? He converted the front toilet into his shed. I put that in
Oh,
inverted
wow.
commas. So he went from having like this 4-car garage back in Australia to
Oh,
literally a toilet here. But he's happy. He's got shelves and he's made all of these designs so he can fit all of his tools in there. And he just
wow.
covers the toilet up with a like good wood. And so yeah, we laughed that he went from this 4 garage to a toilet, but you make it work.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That's great. Yes. So, oh my goodness. So, I have so many questions. So, how old are the boys?
Yeah, so Hamish just turned 13, Jack is 11, and Christian is 7.
Oh my gosh.
So when we first moved on to the boat, Christian was like 3, and the other two were 7 and 8, I think. So Christian spent a fair kind of whack of his life on the boat, which is interesting now. They probably doesn't overly even remember much about home. But
Yeah.
the first time when we left was easier, I must say, because they were younger and they didn't really, have solid friendships and that kind of thing. Whereas then when we went back home for 18 months and left again, it was a little harder because they were that bit older and they were aware that they were leaving friends and grandparents and cousins. So my advice
Mm.
is the younger kind of like four to nine is great age. And then once they get a bit older, like teenage years, they're not backwards at coming forwards if they're like not happy and they miss their friends and stuff. Whereas prior to that,
Yeah.
they were, they couldn't have cared less. They were with mum and dad.
Yeah.
So now we've got to be very mindful of making sure that they've always got friends around, which isn't always easy, but it's worth finding the kids out here because it just makes for a much happier experience for everybody.
Nice. Is that how you manage it? Like, I guess from port to port, there's families, and I'm assuming that's how, and then there's like socialization that happens that way.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Facebook is great for this. We connect. There's like a group called Kids for Sale, the number for sale, SAIL. We're not selling our children, although sometimes we feel like it. Um, and we pretty much like we know where most of the kid boats are, and also it kind of goes in seasons. So in the winter, it's not uncommon for a lot of the families to be in the marina that we are now. We're in Sicily at the moment, and
Yeah.
this marina is a popular marina for families to spend winter in. So there are a lot of kids here at the moment. And just this morning, we were invited to a house on shore who had an Easter egg hunt, and there were like 30 kids. And I've got
Oh,
photos, to prove to everyone that my kids aren't antisocial. They do see a lot of children all the time. And the great thing is that they're usually all different ages and sexes and religions and speak all different languages. So my children can play with kids that don't speak English. And
wow.
I mean, it's obviously preferable for the older ones to be able to have that conversation with with kids that do speak English. But if all we've got is little Sylvan from Germany and he can't speak English, then they find a way to play together too, which is nice.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I guess Facebook really is such a great connector for things like that particularly. Wow. That is
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
actually been really instrumental in this trip as much as, like, everyone I think has a love-hate relationship with Facebook. The connections that I've been able to make have been really instrumental in finding people, in finding friends, in even buying this boat. I literally found it on Facebook. So
Wow.
yeah, there's so many support groups out there, so many sailing groups that if you ever have like any issue, and that's the great thing about this community. Like it really is almost like I don't know if you remember, when you're a kid, you'd go to a caravan park or something, and all the
Hmm.
kids would play together and ride their bikes around. The adults might meet for barbecues or a drink in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. So it's really nice.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Hmm.
So how do the kids go to school? I know I've heard things about like world schooling and just different things that parents do, but this is a big topic that comes up with the traveling therapist is, I want to travel, I want to go, but what do I do about the kids and needing to go to school or I'm just wondering how you guys navigate that.
It's not easy. I would say that out of everything, homeschooling is probably the most difficult thing. It has been for us anyway. And I certainly know that not everybody struggles the same way we do. I just don't think we're that kind of schooly type that for us, it doesn't come naturally. But that's okay. It's not a reason not to do it. Thankfully, my husband handles school. The first time around, I did school. Well, we shared. I probably did more the first time around, and I can vouch that it was super, super difficult. And so that time around, we did like an eclectic approach. So we had like a textbook for maths, and we might have gone online and just found videos and things for science. And we went on land excursions and visited sites. And so, I mean, at the time that felt like it wasn't working, although in hindsight, it wasn't actually too much worse than what we're doing right now. We use a program, it's called a Cellus, and all they have to do is open a computer and log into their curriculum each morning. And in theory, that sounds great, but we have 3 boys who are sitting at a table who, someone's kicking someone under the table and someone stole someone's pen, and the little one can't concentrate, so he's swinging from the rafters of the boat, and it's super hard. But I think, like, we just have to back ourselves. You can doubt yourself until the cows come home. But my husband and I have just kind of said to each other, look, deep down, we trust that what we're doing is the right thing for the boys. We're never going to know. And, you can think you're doing the best thing for your kids and mess them up later. You're a therapist, you know all about that.
Yeah.
But deep down, we think that we're doing them a favor, or, we're not doing them a disservice. We are showing the world that having these interactions with people from all over the world, they're spending a lot of time with adults and seeing mum and dad problem solve and achieve big goals. And mum's running her business and they help dad fix the boat. They converse with people in different languages. If we go to the shop, we use different money. If we go and visit ancient ruins and volcanoes and waterfalls, I'm hoping that what we're doing is the right thing. We'll find out, I guess, when they're adults. But yeah,
Yeah.
deep down, I'm trying to not let the whole idea of school, in inverted commas, what we've been taught school should look like, affect the stress levels in the household. If school doesn't go perfect that day, then I'm sure that the excursion that we go to this afternoon is going to more than make up for it. And that's just how we try and look at it.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Well, like you said, I mean, even kids in regular school, it's never perfect. So, I think I love this model, and they're becoming so worldly and cultured. It's amazing, really. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they can speak to adults really well.
Hmm.
I've had a few people just this week actually say what well-spoken boys they are and what lovely manners they have. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you seeing? Are we talking about the same children here? But it is sinking in. The things that they're seeing and learning is sinking in. And I think if nothing else, they're going to learn that if you have a goal, there's nothing really that's stopping you. Mum and dad weren't sailors. Mum and dad weren't rich, and they didn't have money to go and buy a yacht, but they figured out a way to make it work. So if they could do that, then we can do anything. And that's what I want to really instill in them, is that they can dream big, and they don't have to work for the man and do 9 to 5 and work until they're 70. Like, design the lifestyle that's going to make you happy, and then figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. How amazing. I'd love to like check back in like 10 years and see where the kids are and how they're doing. Like, that's just so interesting to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same. I'm like, please work out, please. I mean, I think seriously, they'll be doing something in yachting. I'm sure of it. Whether they'll
Yeah.
be working in a super yacht, or they'll have a charter yacht business, or
Hmm.
they'll be doing something pretty
Yeah.
crazy. I think Jack would be like a scuba diver instructor, or yeah, they're not going to be sitting in an office. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
Being a traveler and, just always been outside of the box, like that would be what I would want for my kids, to just be able to just not have to do, like you said, that 9 to 5 kind of, you know, humdrum sort of life, is the way I see it. But
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And entrepreneur, but like, it's the way, entrepreneurial spirit, it's the way of the world. If you can kind of make a business out of anything now. So I
Yeah.
don't believe that even if their education doesn't look like what we were taught education should look like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to set them back. I think they'll figure it out regardless.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that so much. Thanks for sharing about all of that.
No problem.
So I'm curious, like, yachting life, like, how do you decide where to go? Do you guys have like a pre-planned route, like around the world, or are you just kind of like, hey, let's go to Sicily next week and stay there for a while? Is it kind of, on a whim?
Yeah, yes and no. So it's super hard to plan anything. They say that sailors' plans are written in sand at low tide. So basically, they change all the time. We're obviously 100% dependent on the weather, and we're also dependent on seasons and currents. And
Mm,
so there's routes around the world, and generally most people stick to those routes. Kind of hardcore if you're going off those kind of routes. And so we're in the Mediterranean now, and there's really only a period of a few months that it's safe to then cross back over the Atlantic to the Caribbean. And then once you're in the
oh,
Caribbean, you've got hurricane season to deal with. So then it means that most people end up down south in Grenada, or way up north in like Maine or something in America. And
mm,
then after that, if you wanted to go through the Pacific, again, you've got cyclone season to deal with. So you can only then go through the Pacific at certain times, which means that, generally most people go the same route around the same time. And you've got friends that you can call or message ahead, or radio on your VHF radio, and ask about what the conditions are like and where are you now, and do you recommend we come there. And so a lot of it's based on just where our friends are, where the kids are going to have friends, and what the weather's doing. So we've spent almost 4 months here in
wow.
Sicily, and that's because it's winter in Europe, and it's not safe. It's not the right weather to be like going anywhere, essentially. So you hunker down and stay in one place. Very soon we're hoping to leave for Greece for the season. So the season is like mid-April to mid-October roughly, where we'll be actively sailing, and we're going to go like around the Greek islands. And another thing we have to contend with is the Schengen. Because we're Australian citizens, we are only allowed to be in the EU for 3 months, and then we have to get out for 3 months. So that means we need to find a non-EU country to go to as well. So I think we're going to split our time between Montenegro and Greece, and that will fill up our whole season. Then at the end of the summer kind of season, we'll make our way back to like Spain and Portugal and the Canary Islands, and then we'll hope to cross the Atlantic Ocean and go back to the Caribbean. Now, in saying all of that, our plans could 100% change, and we decide to live in Greece forever or something. Who knows? But yeah, like I honestly couldn't tell you if we'll be on the boat for 6 months, 6 years, or the rest of our life. I couldn't tell you, and I certainly wouldn't dare say that we're going to sail around the whole world, because that's just such an undertaking that I think that's impossible to say. It would be awesome to go through the Pacific. It would be awesome to make it back to Australia one day. But we're kind of just taking it like a season at a time.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's the same thing we're doing. We have no idea where we're going to be in like 2 weeks. So we just go from place to place. Right. Oh my gosh, that is so interesting. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like if it's a different country, how long you can stay there. And I know that about the UK, that they've got that 3-month rule. So I was curious. Yeah, that's so interesting. Just curious how, I guess you can find it all online these days, like how long you can stay in a certain place. And I'm assuming at different ports, there's different, like you have to register maybe, I don't know, in the country. Like how does that work?
It's exactly like you've arrived by plane, basically. You go to a port and find a customs office and you take your passports and they stamp you into the country, basically. So we still have to abide by all the same kind of rules and laws as if you were flying. And 3 months seems to be kind of like the general rule in the Caribbean. I don't think, unless I'm not sure what the rules were in the Caribbean. I mean, I'm sure some countries were able to stay longer, but we just kind of researched the next country that we're going to. There's definitely like analysis paralysis and decision fatigue. Like you've always got to research everything, and then throw COVID on top of that. There was just so many things that you had to kind of research and keep up with. So that was why we just kind of went still for a little while. And then just going to stick to probably 2 countries in the summer, because it's also a lot to move often. We're very slow sailors, slow travelers, because I do work full time, the weekends, or unless I take a day off, make it up on the weekend. It's my own company. I can obviously work when I want, but I have clients that I'm not going to let down by sailing around all the time. So it makes it harder to move regularly, but also, running the boat, doing the school, doing the washing, making sure we've got enough water. So we make our own water using a desalination unit on the boat, which turns seawater into drinking water. All those things take like a lot of time and effort and work. So living on a boat sounds very luxurious, but I'm not a fan of camping. It's much better than camping, but it's extremely hard work. I think it's like RV, but harder, from what I've heard from speaking to other like RV people and people that have done both boat and RV. They say boats are like, it's awesome, but it's harder. So it's a lot of work. I couldn't do what I do without my husband, who kind of like does everything else, thankfully, to allow me to run my business. And so we've got a good like setup, good partnership happening. I can work and the money, but certainly can't do it without him doing like everything else and maintaining the boat. So it works well.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So interesting. I feel like I could just talk to you for days about this, but thank you so much for all of this. I'm just curious, is there a favorite port you've been to, or a place that, like, if you had to pick one place to be all the time, is there a favorite, or are they all just wonderful for you?
Yeah, I loved Grenada in the Caribbean. So it happened to be the very first place we went to. It was the place where we bought our boat. But it was just beautiful, like perfect Caribbean weather, tropical island, beautiful beaches, rum punch everywhere you go, awesome music, happy people. It was like awesome, like just how you imagine the Caribbean to be. It was a really good vibe, and we loved it there. So we look forward to going back there one day. But we always think of maybe one day we'll settle down or stop, or back in mind this settle down one day. But who knows whether we go back to Australia and be with our family. Obviously that's the one downside, or the to this life, is that we are away from our family, which we both love and miss dearly. But at the same time, it's like we have to live our life, and this is kind of like our calling, and we've made this work. We don't want to give it up to go back home just yet anyway. So, but yeah, that's the unfortunate side of being remote and a digital nomad, is that you just can't bring your family and friends with you,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm finding that myself. Like this weekend's my dad's birthday. My whole family's going to be there. It's like, of course I'll
Yeah,
FaceTime in and try to be there, but it's not the same, So I
it's
am
not the
finding that's
same.
that's one of the hardest things I think about this lifestyle for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So just one last question. This always comes up with a traveling therapist is like internet. Like, what do you do for internet on a sailboat or a yacht? How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's really not that complicated. It's probably exactly what you guys do, but I just buy local SIM cards everywhere we go, swap them in and out of our phones, and then I just hotspot from my phone to my computer.
Nice.
So, I mean, with that, we're managing to watch Netflix, and we buy a couple. My husband puts one in his phone. If it's affordable, we'll put one in one of the kids' devices as well. So, yeah, generally everywhere we've been, so it's been not only like possible, but also pretty affordable. We just won't sail to wherever if we know ahead of time that they don't have internet, which is be very unlikely these days, but maybe some islands in the Pacific wouldn't, then we wouldn't go there because I need to be able to run my business.
Yeah.
And perhaps if we were to get somewhere and it just wasn't good enough, this is yet to happen, but we would move because I need to be in contact, online pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
So, it kind of goes against what a lot of people might think boat life is all about, but that's compromise if, we need money to eat and live, and this is
Exactly.
where we've made it work. And while I do work a lot, I can do work whatever hours I want. And so it's not unusual for me to kind of like work the morning and then take the afternoon off and go and explore with the kids, or take the morning off and work late at night. So I do feel like I still get to see a lot of the places that we're visiting. But obviously, I also sometimes feel like I'm missing out on things as well. But
Yeah.
I take the good with the bad.
Yeah, it's a trade-off for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So if people want to work with you, how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can reach out on email, which is erin@roamgeneration.com,
Okay.
or they can go check out my website, which is www.roamgeneration.com. And then there's a contact form on there on the contact page. And yeah, just reach out. We can have like obligation free discovery call and chat about whether or not we're a fit. But yeah, essentially, if you've got anything to do with like a travel, leisure, or luxury brand or business, and you're wanting to get help with promoting your story and trying to raise brand awareness and raise trust and your credibility in your brand, then definitely reach out and we can see, what we can do together.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm definitely going to be doing one of those discovery calls with you. Thank
Awesome.
you
Can't
so
wait.
much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you love this episode, please leave a review.